Hello! If you've not seen me before, my name is Lisa, but I can go by Liz or Lise, and I hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. And this is a little bit of a different video than my other Hello Kitty Island adventure videos, because this is going to be me yapping unscripted, just like this intro here, of the updated news on the City Town DLC. So that is dropping a week from today. So April 16th is the date, and we got the news of how much it costs and also the future of the game as well, with regards to some other content updates, if you will. So I know also I'm not the most positive when it comes to content. I have been pretty on the fence about a lot of it, and of course I've reduced my playtime of the game as of recent. However, I hope that doesn't cloud any of your opinions, and of course if you are looking forward to any of the content coming up, that is great. And don't get me wrong, I want to see this game succeed too, but I don't know also that it's okay to pick up the flaws and to point out flaws that I disagree with and that I don't think that should be here or there. And on top of that, with all that is to come though, I plan to still at least get this DLC. I don't know what the future will hold for future DLCs, at least when it comes to me, and I do go into that a little bit more with the little pop-ups that I have in this video. So I hope the visuals help a little bit. I hope they're fun. I hope the little crane that I have at the bottom is cool. It's a GIF that I technically have, but changed it up a bit. But again, it's going to be me yapping just as much as this is me yapping. So some things also are a little bit discombobulated, but hopefully the visuals on screen kind of help clear things up. But I hope also too that, again, if any of you decide and would like to comment down below, that, you know, we keep it civil, okay? I'm not here to argue at all. I'm here to have constructive conversations, if any occur, and that goes the same for anyone else who wants to comment what they feel as well. Let's keep it civil. All right? But again, I hope, though, too, that it also helps you all in some way, that is to maybe see what you may want to do in the future for the game as well. And, you know, and going forward, we'll also see what is to come. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that because I don't know how to end this. But all the same, please do enjoy. And of course, if you do like the video, please give it a like. And of course, subscribe also if you'd like to see more Hello Kitty Island Adventure content. Again, it may be slowing down, at least on my end, but I do play on the Nintendo Switch too. I did play on the Nintendo Switch previously, but then I got Nintendo Switch 2 and I ported my game to it. So there is that, in case you were curious about the Nintendo Switch 2 experience of the game. And of course, you can check me out over on Twitch at _Liz as well if you would like to see me play the game live, because all the videos that I do have over here are actually from streams. But all the same, hang out here, chill, vibe, you do you. But at the same time, please enjoy the video. Starting now. That will be a fine cut. It's okay. I couldn't do it in one take. I couldn't do it in one take. Hello and welcome to this random bit video. There is no script. I am a person who doesn't use scripts. This is off script. So forgive the pauses, forgive the weird looking one way over the other. But let's enjoy the music that we're here for, since also I don't really come here as recent videos go, to be fair. So, for announcements, that was posted on April 7th at 11:03 a.m. my time. And I will do that in a moment. Yeah, I can at least put the banana here. We can have a little fun. It's wild times. All right? You know what? We can have support beetle around. The hat was on the beetle, but not really on the beetle, you know? Over there. How we feeling, buddy? How we feeling? I don't want to, like, look too, like, slumped when I'm reading this stuff, so I'll hold the beetle for support. Support beetle underway. So, I'll read the post, and again, I'll read the dev response tracker about what they've posted in this big post. I will probably in post try to do my best to have the screenshots of this as well, so that it isn't just text that I'm reading, because, you know, English is hard, and we don't have to talk about it. Hello, friends, is how it starts. We want to talk about our future roadmap. Since we launched Hello Kitty Island Adventure, our industry has gone through extraordinary changes, as has, yes, our company, our partnerships, and of course, the game itself. The rapid pace of change meant long-term planning and commitments were always a flux, which limited our ability to share what was upcoming. Interesting. Things are starting to settle as Hello Kitty Island Adventure enters its 4th year. So let's put that into perspective a little bit. 4 years, all right, on Apple Arcade. You can figure out some math there. At least, keep that number in mind, all right? Now, that is this July will be its anniversary, you could say, for 4 years, and we're excited to share what's on the horizon. So that is the first starting point of the post. So the first bullet point, if you will, is City Town, April 16th of 2026. First, we're excited to share that City Town will be releasing April 16th for $24.99, that is USD, at least for me. City Town includes a huge amount of content released over almost 2 years on arcade, so keep that in mind as well. We have 4 and 2, so 2 years since it's been on arcade in particular, with substantial rework to bring it to other platforms, aka our beautiful consoles that we have going on and PC. Its development pattern and schedule was necessary at the time, but had significant drawbacks for us and the community, and we won't be developing paid content in the same way again. Similar character-driven DLC in the future will look much more like Wheatheart Wonderland in terms of development, schedule, and release. So keep that in mind. And again, this whole area, which I guess I should just bring up the map versus me hopping around, right? This whole area was a big thing that they announced, and they did say it was their biggest area yet. I've said my opinions in other videos. I will not necessarily reiterate all of that right now, but keep that in mind. Just something to take note of as well. So I will read the next bullet point here. Next major update. Players can expect the next major update after City Town to be free and released around fall 2026. That's because our strategy for 2026 has shifted to focus on strengthening and expanding core gameplay. The exploration, adventure, customization, and friendship that drives the game. We don't want the core gameplay update to be behind a paywall. Content updates will continue regularly in between major updates. So you could say, like, right when it's a certain event, the title screen changes, for example, you could say that. Right? I feel like that's kind of what they're going for, but interesting. Considering that I'm not exactly sure what the core gameplay is, I'm sorry, this is not really, I consider, the most funnest thing to rinse and repeat, personally. Giving gifts also, I'm not about it too much, I'm sorry to say. And then as far as, quests go, I mean, we've gotten some random ones. We don't have any random ones right now, or at least I've called them random. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward when it comes to what real quests are here. I don't really care about customization that much unless they want to expand on that customization, because let's be real, we really can't customize. We can customize cabins, but that's inside cabins. We can customize our character, that's our character. We really can't customize much else. Oh, wow, a banner. Haha, they have not done anything with the banners. They had that one quest, and that was it. So again, weird timing that they have, but just keep that in mind. Because for the next bullet point, content packs. That said, We do not want to continue to deliver optional value that players feel. We want to continue to deliver optional value that players feel good about paying for. Okay, and that can support the game's ongoing development. So I think that is like the core crux that should be taken away from that paragraph. Okay, so we'll be experimenting with smaller paid content packs that contain themed furniture, quests, foods, character outfits, and more. Expect the first content pack this summer. So they already are going down this path. Now, I think, again, that is where people have also really been like, huh? And then, right, how does that work for anyone who is on arcade? Because you're already paying monthly. So, the other bullet point here before the final one. Other DLC? Question mark, question mark, question mark. We loved working on Wheatflower Wonderland and bringing Kagamion to life. We may do these self-contained paid DLCs again in the future, but we're focusing on other types of content and development in 2026. AKA, I would say, because they got to figure out the money business. Honestly, that's probably the best way to put that. It was this was a big test, right? Specifically for those of us on console and PC, I would say, right? Again, Apple Arcade, they basically pay monthly, yearly. So interesting way to phrase it. So the last thing they have is a bullet point. They just sum everything up. So City Town is $24.99 USD. Moving forward, they have the icons of Steam, the Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation. I assume also the Nintendo Switch means the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. Moving forward, major paid updates won't be staggered across platforms again, like City Town was. Interesting way to phrase that, considering again, they could have had, if maybe more time to work on the game, we could have had City Town in the base game. Or some part of it, I don't know. Right? Considering what some of us paid for. Right? But then the next point they have for summing it up, free major update is coming in fall 2026 that will evolve and expand core gameplay. Again, whatever that means. I don't really understand that. But okay. And then, of course, the last little bit is first paid cosmetic pack is coming in summer 2026, and that is something to distinctly keep an eye out for and take note of. And then, of course, as always, we can't thank you enough for the support and feedback you've given us along the way. Please keep it coming, and we'll cultivate this ongoing adventure together. So it's clear that, of course, they want to continue, and it's clear, of course, they still want to bring stuff that we, the players, also want, but I do find some of it very interesting. So we'll devolve in a lot of that in just a moment. I'll let that all settle in for now and catch up here with the text, but keep all of that in mind. Keep the numbers in mind as well that I was calling out, particular 4 years and 2. Again, for the Apple Arcade experience of the game, and of course, the City Town specifically. So we got some math to go through. That'll be fun. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to the Discord here. And this is a different post that was posted to maybe clear some things up that some people have as problems, maybe concerns, maybe questions with what was broken down in what they shared. In particular, the content packs, because we all know what that entails, aka the usual connection of microtransactions. So, the question, what is up with this content pack? What would it include? And what does that mean for AA, meaning Apple Arcade? Okay, so the content packs are a bonus set of aesthetic content that helps support the game's ongoing development on all platforms. AKA, we need money. We need money to continue. That is the basic response about that, even though they use their you know, for support, ongoing development bit, then help. It's basically, we need money. It's as simple as that. So why not put stuff right behind a paywall, essentially, which includes quests, clothing, furniture, etc. Whatever etc. means. Great. But okay, so there will be no new area, no new main character or visitors or cameos when it comes to the content packs. So just keep that in mind. But here's the catch and twist, because the main question was for, again, Apple Arcade. We'll get these packs included in updates as usual, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Because then from there, for anyone concerned about microtransactions, and they put the microtransactions in quotes, and that is the quotation marks. The content packs are a one-time purchase that is a defined set of finite content with no gambling or randomness. So you get what you get. Though that does make me wonder then how much of what this clothing will be like and what this furniture will be like too, because what if you like the clothing and or furniture, but you want to customize it or you want to put it in more than one place? Curious questions I do have. It is a combination though, and here they go again, of furniture and decor, clothing, then it says customizations and quests. It's an entire set of additive content, not a one-off skin or character or currency. There's also no gameplay advantage. It doesn't help you progress or unlock anything outside of itself. So, okay. Great. Interesting though that they also go with that, and I mean, I guess it's just a set thing, and of course, again, right, it's just you get no random, it's literally this. Hopefully they do disclose what you're getting very clearly and not hiding anything, and especially the quantity, right? But then, of course, another question was, what about this major update that they mentioned? Is this the CU7 and onward? And then the response was, when we say major update, we mean beyond the scale of the usual content updates. Fantastic. The last one is, will there be a time limit, right? And that's important to get the content packs. And it says, nothing will be nothing will be time gated. Once the pack is out, it'll be out and available always. This post was edited, don't know what they edited on it, but they again posted this at about 12:42 p.m. my time, so good chunk after. But you know, those were the pending questions, right? What the heck is this content pack, yo? And of course, the problem is that we don't know how much that is. Though, look forward to summer on that particular piece. But again, for anyone on the Apple Arcade side of things, you do not need to worry if you, of course, are willing to pay the monthly/yearly fee to play the game. So I'm just scrolling through some people's comments, and this one I just scrolled and saw, and I agree with it. So this is someone who possibly plays on the Nintendo Switch, and maybe just the Nintendo Switch. But unfortunately, being able to afford extra content is a luxury not all of us can pay, especially in times like this and in a country where rates against the USD is just ridiculous. So, speaking of that, yes, it is a luxury. And I do agree. And I'm happy that someone called it out too, that not everyone can afford. This game is not for everyone, and it's not for everyone's budget. It is not. Especially at the rate that it's going like this. And then, of course, they understand it's their own decision to play and where you spend money. But personally, it made them feel kind of left out and sidelined. So that's their feeling. And I feel that too for some of it, right? And that was, again, from the beginning, even though we knew that we didn't have the city. But there is actually also in the Discord, someone did post the definition of a microtransaction. But also what's funny is people are comparing it to a Starbucks drink, saying that probably it won't be as expensive as a drink. It will be cheaper. And I'm just like, are you sure about that? Because like, if you ordered some Starbucks drinks, let alone just a coffee, it can be almost $7 to $6 already. What are you talking about? And I can see a pack being just priced as that, again, in view of supporting the ongoing development of Hello Kitty Island Adventure. So that also begs the question on, since they've added it to these platforms, how much are they really getting and how much have they gotten thus far in their endeavors? Very, very curious. And then here someone else goes. So about that microtransaction, because that's what people are just basically calling it, right? So if we're now debating on the semantics of what a microtransaction technically is, well, you get it on the eShop, not directly from the game, then the conversation can't move forward in a meaningful way. To deny what they are based on technicalities is in bad faith and designed to make people feel better about purchasing them. That's what the entire rename discussion is at its core. So yeah, they're basically like going on about it, which, I mean, right? Like, where are you getting your stuff? How you're buying it? I would still say that you are, I mean, even though it's not an in-game purchase and you're not using an in-game currency, because there is none here, we trade with just, you know, this kind of stuff that we find out and about. You're still paying for shit. And they're not calling it a DLC, so you could call it a content pack all you want, but let's be real. It is, yeah, basically people are just saying like, it is microtransactions. And then someone, right, calling out that people need to be paid. And people are not happy about paying for stuff though. And then people are like, you should be asking questions. And then of course, yeah, we'd be getting free content later on, but whatever that means. And then yeah, some people are already also calling out how much people have paid for, right? If you got the physical copy on it for Switch. And then, right, criticism is good. And then of course, someone's calling out that this game was developed by other people, that certain characters wouldn't be included, which I think is a little strange because like, it could have been any development team, and the fact that, you know, right, they are running into one of the bigger issues is money. Let's be real. Money is a huge issue when it comes to games, right? You have a big company backing up something, kind of, you know, you bat an eye, right? But for these smaller individual companies, especially for games like this, money doesn't come easy. Right? And that's why some have to devolve into such tactics as this, or completely close up shop. So it's really interesting, the discourse right now. I mean, first we're being like, okay, that, like, the price of the DLC, fine. The line is now drawn with those content packs. Oh, and people are talking about how, like, owning games and such, and how you don't own it even on console or what have you. And then someone's saying, but I have the cartridge, isn't it different? I mean, I still feel like having the game like this is very different than having it on Apple Arcade, because if you're not paying for that subscription, you literally cannot go into the game. You are blocked out. Whereas this, I can disconnect from the internet and go into it just fine. I don't need the internet to play this. I don't need to pay a subscription to play besides if I'd want to do online, which makes me feel like I own it more than I would say Apple Arcade people. But interesting take on some of the discourse that's happening in the Discord. But that is the going right now. You don't really own anything. But what does it mean to really own something to begin with, right? I mean, let's be real. I feel like plushies are probably the safest that I got. It's great. So now here comes the next part. So I don't know how I broke that up, but, you know, just reading some things that people post and kind of like breaking it down a little bit of how I feel too. And sometimes people can put into words better than me, but yeah, my piece on this. So we'll be back here, but not my top place. I guess I don't really actually go here. Let's be real. In the water, but I of course cannot be underwater, but I can be under here for a while and thus, you know, not totally be kicked out. So change of pace. I think this is fine. So we're gonna be here and we're gonna do some math right now. So I called out some time frames. So let me look up this. I've looked it up before, but I just want to get this right. So we're gonna look up first. Oh, I cannot spell. What? I cannot spell. I cannot type is what I mean. Okay, so I was a little off. I know they also had another bit. So, okay. That's what we're gonna do, because it just is the easier bit. But of course, you know, there's different tiers for Apple. We're not gonna delve into those, but if you use Apple a lot, one could say it's worth it, for sure. We're gonna use a calculator. That's where I'm at now. Sorry. We're gonna have $6.99. This is the price for Apple Arcade. Okay, we got that. That is for a monthly subscription. We're just gonna look at the monthly subscription. Of course, again, right, there's family plans. There's the free, you know, months you get with a new device. Let alone, you know, your free trials. We're just gonna ignore that and we're just gonna go if you're paying for a whole time of month to month to month to month. All right. And then, of course, over the course of the year, so times 12 for all the months, that puts you at $83.88 for a whole year. If you are paying that. Again, they have other options, but we're just gonna look at it like that. So that is already the price, you could say, of one game. But of course, for playing on Apple Arcade, you get everything early in advance, right? Because they drop it there first. And clearly for the newer content that they're gonna be dropping, aka the packs, you don't have to pay anything, so they're going to stay away from the transactions in there, which I find interesting that they aren't going to let them, but at the same time it makes sense if, of course, if you're not paying for the monthly subscription, you can't even go into the game anymore. So there is that. This gonna be right. Okay, so then I put it times 4 to that price. I'm stuck getting error. Again, they did not have that animation at the very start of this game on the Nintendo Switch. It was on the PC version though. And I was disappointed as heck until they finally added it to the Switch version of the game. Yeah. Fun little fact. But I don't think, again, for my kind of gameplay that I would be paying that much, because holy crap, that is a lot over the course of 4 years. I gotta say, that is a hefty total looking at it. I can imagine myself paying for individual games and still coming out on top. But again, I don't play Apple Arcade games. But when I times it by 4, again, that's for 4 years, technically. At least that's how I was trying to do it. Again, math is not my strong suit. In fact, I would do it the really slow way, so bear with me. But I came up with $335.52. So that is, again, a hefty side piece, and yes, a luxury to be able to pay that. So again, we're still technically under if we buy it ourselves over the course, but that is a hefty price. I wonder how they're even, like, I wonder how much they're even getting, considering it has to be split. So maybe not that much, depending on how many players there are. Okay. So, minus, of course, having to buy the console. Right? Because that is the struggle. So, for just the game itself, according to the lovely interwebs, if you're just getting not the deluxe version of the game, that was $39.99 on here. So you have that going for you. Or if you're buying the deluxe version of the game, you're spending $59.99. Now, of course, since then, they released a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. And, of course, they have the DLC. So again, your mileage may vary. So if we take just the base game, that is, of course, this is the digital too. Keep that in mind because they do have physical for the Switch. We're just gonna add the wheat flour to the base game. Comes to $54.98, which is still, I would say, a hefty price, even just for what you're getting as a base game. Because at the end of the day, I feel like, even though I feel like they hit it a little bit, 'cause when you then add the deluxe edition, which you can tack on afterward. So let's say you didn't buy it at the first bit and you decided that you wanted it later, you can get it, which is $20. So then adding that to also the DLC, so you add the 20 to it, and that's $74.98 right there. So of course, I don't know if they've even changed this, but for the deluxe version edition, that is the deluxe edition, the game cannot be played with this content alone. In order to play the game, it is necessary to purchase the main Hello Kitty Island Adventure main game, of course. This content is included in the Hello Kitty Island Adventure Deluxe Edition. Please be careful not to make duplicate purchases. So, be warned of that, but what they say is that for the deluxe event bundle, that over 300 unique items and rewards up front, no need to wait, and then 1 year of legacy clothing, furniture, and other cosmetics early from events like the 2023 Spooky Celebration, 2023 Give and Gather Celebration, 2024 Luck and Lantern Celebration, 2024 Hugs and Heart Celebration, 2024 Month of Meh featuring Gudetama, and 2024 Under the Sea Celebration, and so many more. Then they go down to break it down to say that deluxe starter bundle, 10 times friendship blossoms, 3 times friendship bouquets, 10 times island bouquets, 50 times, they have an X, okay, but strawberry crates, and then deluxe crafting bundle, the 50 times of each color dye, 100 sticks, 45 iron ore, 50 rubber, and then collect your bundles once you start playing through cute quests. So that is kind of one of the red flags you can say when this game was first released. You could, again, potentially, if you read the fine text, then there's nothing to worry about. Though I feel that should have been like a little bit higher and a little bit more obvious, because you have to read through everything else, and I'm gonna be honest, I am not a reader. I'm a skimmer. I like to skim through things, and it's funny how they say in the first bit that you get over 300 unique items and rewards up front, no need to wait, which is basically all cosmetics, and that is cosmetics being like what you can put in cabins and outfits, right? Versus collect your bundles once you start playing through cute quests, which, let's be real, the quests, sure, they really were something, but it's not quick. And some of them is just like, wow, some of the stuff that they had available to you was not readily available. The materials were really bad, right? The spawn rate for the materials were absolutely abysmal at the start of the game. Like, yikes. So, keeping that in mind, though. All right, then let's say that you're someone, though, and you just paid for just the whole big bit. You already paid the $59.99. All right? So again, the previous one was a $74.98, and that is just the base game, if you will, and you bought it for the Switch. Again, pending your cost of what you already have the Switch for and what you play on it for. Fantastic. So then, and again, this is all the digital. You pay the $59.99. Do not buy the deluxe edition again. So it's already included in that price, you could say. So then from there, you add the $14.99 for the lovely Wheatheart Wonderland. And that puts you at $74.98. But then let's say you went the extra mile. Right? Like you went and you decided that you needed and wanted the Nintendo 2. That is the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. So that was $9.99. So now again we are at $84.97 for that. And for this, they describe it as Nintendo Switch 2 features. Embark on your cozy adventure to Friendship Island with higher frame rates and smoother visuals. Celebrating, customizing, and crafting never looked so good. Enjoy enhanced resolution on the Nintendo Switch 2 system. Playing with your friends is more fun with camera play. And prefer playing with a mouse? Joy-Con mouse support is here. So, of course, one major thing is that during their development as well for Hello Kitty, they decided that, I forget which version, I'm terribly sorry I don't have that on the top of my head, but it also made it so that those of us on Nintendo Switch 2 cannot connect with Nintendo Switch 1 and vice versa. With these graphics though, I wonder if that was also part of their own timeline and they're like, uh-oh, I mean, right? How can you keep up with them? They're not on the same version. Curious stuff. I would say that some stuff, yes, is smoother, but some of the frame rate is still garbage, unfortunately. And I feel like, did I pay for what? What did I actually pay? Like, I'm glad I'm helping them out, but also I'm kind of like, it even looks better on PC. I've seen PC gameplay. I don't understand, like, why certain aspects still look like it did, and I still praise the game as what it looks like, to be fair. But for the Nintendo Switch version of the game, it was great. Even running it on the Nintendo Switch 2, except for some parts where I was like, ew. So, we have our numbers. There is about a $10 plus a cent difference in those prices when you're getting it, depending on which version of the Nintendo Switch version you got. But of course, if you don't embark on getting the upgrade, it's just the 10-cent difference plus the cent. About. I'm trying to scroll back a little bit. So yeah, the 20 makes a huge difference for if you're gonna get the deluxe edition or not. I'm scrolling through here, but ultimately they work out pretty much around the same. Again, not getting the physical copy of this game. So then, all right, we're gonna stick with though the $84.97. So this is getting the deluxe edition, the upgraded graphics, which is what I did, and now we're gonna add that $24.99, which now puts this game at $109.96. Which sounds crazy when you look at it like that, a little bit. At least, again, that's how much I've basically will be spending if I do get the DLC. And I say it like that because it's like, damn. Wow. It really kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? and let alone how much those packs will cost. So then the price is going up and up and up. Now again, it's still under what one is paid in a matter of speaking. So let's say we take this back and we put still the $6.99, and then because I'm still gonna remembering numbers. So that's still under. No, that's still. That is under a full year if you paid for Apple Arcade. Actually, like at that point, and then if you wanted to continue it, it is factoring to be a little different depending on how much you want to pay. I don't necessarily would want to play it on Apple Arcade because I don't really play again mobile. It's not really my thing personally, but that is an interesting thing now to reflect on, looking at it that way, by paying $6.99 for 12 months, it coming out to $83.88 and getting everything and then some. I don't know how much I would really want to totally pay for this game, to be honest. I mean, the only other game that I've really paid for bonus stuff at this time would be Cult of the Lamb, but I got those on sale. Yep, I saw them on sale, so I was like, okay, I'll just get it. And I didn't mind those as much. I felt more rewarded in some ways with it. But that begs the question if this will ever go on sale. I mean, I don't know about the content packs, let's be real, but like DLC, will there ever be sales, right? Because I feel like this would be a game that would go on sale for that, but maybe not. Maybe that's where they're going to get their money and they'll just have the base game on sale, right? Because that's one way they could kind of average it out. But, that is a hefty price. And I don't know if I care that much. Looking at it that way, like at that point, how much would I care if I didn't buy the deluxe version of this game? Would I care? Was the standard the way to go? Those are interesting questions to kind of reflect on. Again, minus the console cost, if we're gonna be all fun about that, because also, right, it's only on Apple Arcade, so you have to have an Apple device. So again, pick your poison on that too. But oh man, interesting. Now I'll also bring this up for me, minus also having it open when I've gone on breaks and stuff, when I've done the streaming and or recording, right, let alone what I'm doing here for this video. Over the course of the year that it's been out, plus I've spent 405 hours or more of my time in the game. But that is, of course, over the year and some months. Which, how do I say that I got my money's worth? Yes and no, because I've also had dead times. Dead times to where nothing was going on and I felt like the game was pretty empty. I mean, sorry, as far as emptiness also goes, I mean, well, but that was a lot of other hot business going over there. But for this, oh man, that is a hard gamble. And I've never played Pocket Camp, which technically you could say that was Nintendo's endeavor into some microtransaction worldness, and also having a beautiful Animal Crossing experience. They've also did the Mario Run, and they also did the Mario Kart, but they actually discontinued those in their own time, which was interesting. But it was interesting how they, took a little step into the mobile world and then just took a step out. And they were like, not really our thing. So I don't know if I could see myself would have spent that. And I know who I was watching play those games. They were basically, I mean, they only did a little bit of the Pocket stuff, but they did the kart stuff, and they were like, hey, I don't know, it wasn't worth it. Because they weren't just, like, they just weren't about it anymore, and I don't blame them for the cost. at all. And what I'm thinking too is like, okay, for these packs, like how much time are they actually putting with development wise and space and time? Because they came up with the DLC that they came up with, and while there were aspects that I really enjoyed about it, don't get me wrong, I know I say a lot of negative things about the Wonderland. I do. It is a wonder of a land. But I did like what they brought to the game. Like, they were building up to something really cool, I thought, and it was really cool for the cutscenes and the transformations. I enjoyed that a lot. But I feel like a big lack in the writing in certain areas. It's not everywhere. It's just, I wonder who's writing the story and how are they going about a story to create this world, because again, they had me going with the story here and I thought it was going to be interesting, and it was. But then, of course, due to other updates that they brought to the game, and this was specifically for Apple Arcade even, which I technically got spoiled about this update, and then the game kind of spoiled itself because the game had the update. So then the way and where I was in the game, the pacing, it just didn't flow right, which was okay, but I was like, oh no, because it was like big challenges, right? And he was like, oh no, I don't know, you know, what I'm gonna do, you know, there's gotta be something epic. And yeah, the epic thing was that roller coaster. And it just kind of, I need that, thank you. It just kind of fumbled for me a little bit in that regard, because then also with the island spirit and when we were talking, it was just like, oh yeah, what are we gonna do? And then it was literally happening real time. So that was interesting, to say the least. Even with also for an update that they had, right, where they wanted to bring in the winterness, and that happened, and then we also got it too. But yeah, I don't know, the pacing was weird, and I guess that explains some of the turmoil that they've also were experiencing, because they couldn't really announce stuff, or when they did, it was kind of very sporadic and, you know, didn't really fit a timeline. But I would say that as a console player, we are getting closer, and by far, I guess, more closer to a higher amount paying for it than over the course of a year is worth. And given that we're getting not all the content at the start, which I think was also a different kind of fumble, makes me a little worried. And I don't know personally if I would buy the packs myself, because I'm not really one to care about customization. I'm probably the least, even though I like having options, probably the least ecstatic about it. And plus, I don't change my character too much. To be fair, I usually stick, if I like a certain outfit, I usually stick with it. I did that in Animal Crossing as well. I don't even know how many I left behind as outfit-wise, because I was just like, whatever. And mostly just stick to getting like the same outfit and then having the different colors of that same outfit. That's what I did. And then also, even with all those different colors, defaulting back to a very specific color scheme, which I haven't gone back to in this one, but I don't see myself wanting it. I mean, I would have them maybe just chilling, and maybe I would hope that one day they could do like a discount kind of pack thing, but I don't think I would want to buy them individually. I mean, how much are you willing to pay for basically a pack? Right? And then like, what is it exactly that you're getting like for the pack? Like, truly, what are you getting, even though you know what you're getting? Which, hopefully, again, they'll disclose a little bit better than what they did for the deluxe edition of the game, since that was hidden a little bit. I would say it wasn't in the forefront. And of course, I would say that it was a little misleading. I mean, like, thinking back on it, too, of, like, how they described it as the deluxe edition, because usually when you think, or at least From my minimal knowledge of when I think of a deluxe edition of a game, I usually think, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the stuff right away. I don't need to wait, right? Like, you're just gonna get the items, get the products, get the things already. And you would assume that that's what you're getting, right? You're getting the extra content early. And while, yeah, you were getting it early in some ways, and you were getting kind of a buff in others, it really wasn't. I would have probably titled it something else to reflect a little bit better of what it was all about. Let me see if there's anything else. And someone else is calling out too for like Apple Arcade. It's like you can't basically charge them, but you get to charge others. Which is a funny concept and idea too, right? It really is. And yep, and it's just, again too, since this is basically an Apple formatted game, I am not surprised by any of this and also the process of it. But it does also beg the question of the longevity of this game a little bit. That is, I'm questioning it a little bit. Because it's already amazing of how long it's lasted, to be fair. And someone actually also called out 2 other games that also have paying experiences, so I did mention one. But I like how they phrased it, because I mean, I think it's funny, but if I wanted to play a game that kept adding paywalls, I'd be playing Dreamlight Valley or The Sims. So I've never played either of those games. I've only watched gameplay of both, and I think that was The Sims 4. And that was a really long time ago, and I've only seen a little bit of Dreamlight Valley, but I've heard what has also happened over there, so yeah. It's questionable. It really is about, you know, the value of that. And I also wonder, since they took their time on it a little bit, that is, they didn't announce it right at the same time, about how much they were trying to basically, I guess, hold off this barrage. But I was hoping that they were going to announce at least something the week before that it was going to be released, and I hope maybe they can maybe clear up any other, you know, concerns as well with us, as in the consumers who are playing the game, such as, of course, letting us know how much the packs are going to be. That would be nice, so hopefully it won't fall too soon. You know, of course, they don't want to mess up the release about the game, but too soon or too late when it comes to, I guess, mentioning how much, let alone this true summer begins, right? But going back to this part of the game, and you can see sometimes possibly about how it kind of still stutters for me. Again, it sucks that it stutters. I don't know why. Yeah, and I paid for what? For what? Meanwhile, there's another game that I did pay for, or that I could pay for. I don't think I did that actually yet at this time. I think I talked about it. That also had the same bit and should be running more smoothly, but I think it probably does run a little bit smoother than this. But while I enjoyed a lot of what was here and what it was kind of building up to, again, going back to the story bit, I felt like it was lacking in actually developing anything more, and I felt like we didn't learn anything, and I still hate how it ended. I will not go through those doors ever again, but I wish we learned more about them. Like, what about them? What about this area? Like, why did it basically crumble? Like, it could have been really cool. Like, I could see that. But no. Nope. That's not what it was about. I mean, I know it wasn't about them. It was about the Wheatheart Guardians, but also, while I know no game is perfect, I did hate that this part, minus me teleporting because that was an accident, But this part for me bugged out. And I thought I basically ruined the game. I mean, thank goodness the game was smarter and didn't lock up entirely. I don't have a friend to float correctly. But yeah, that sucked. And that's another thing that ever since, like, at the start, this game, I was so surprised of how smooth it ran. Like, I didn't have any bugs really at all. It just worked. And then, like, bugs or like crashes. And then later on, as we've gotten to more updates and stuff, it's been a little bit more on the buggier side of that. And that's okay. I mean, luckily there's an easy fix, right? Like, I just had to leave the game and re-enter it again. But I would hope that when we're paying for these things, that they're a little less frequent and a little bit more polished. They would be nice. Obviously, you can't again expect that from everything, but it just would be nice to see it kind of go back to what it used to be, honestly. Otherwise, it would just suck if basically every time it just kind of got worse. Which I don't think is going to get worse necessarily, but it just kind of did not make it fun. Also, that little bit without a friend, all this platforming did not make it fun, especially near the top, right, of all this. But for calling it a bigger expanded area just because it looks like this, it's just not my thing. So I hope that also when we do indulge, that things that is in the future, things will be less like that too. And maybe it's something that they'll learn from as well as far as the game goes. But yeah, there are just certain parts that are not so smooth. And these are kind of like some basic movements. And they always catch my eye. It's usually the same thing though, so maybe that will hopefully get cleaned up, which then brings to the free update talk. So what exactly will they be bringing for the free update in the fall? And of course, what does that mean for those of us who, let's say, don't don't indulge in getting the DLC or any of the packs? Like, what does it mean for this free one? And how much are they going to still be pushing those out? And for any of us that don't have any of the extra stuff, are we going to feel kind of left out and left behind like we already have been? Or is it going to feel all right? Which, given the packs, right, if they have one for summer, do they plan to release them as in like for the seasons, or they plan to release them just as like a just kind of filler during the gaps of, you know, bigger updates that they have in store? Because of course now they really want to at least catch us up with Apple Arcade, but at the same time some of us can feel still left behind with and from Apple Arcade's, you know, longevity of it all, given that of course they've had the city area for 2 years I guess it seems from their post, the game being 4 in July. So curious stuff. Meanwhile, you know, right, this is our, you know, full second go around that we're experiencing on console and PC more or less. I know PlayStation of course got a little later, but how does it feel to kind of have it broken down and how much you're willing to spend? I know those numbers were a little janky, and I know I was kind of just going off of what I could, you know, truly find and what I was experiencing as far as reflecting on, wow, that's how much I'll be spending, huh? For one game. Which is always a curious endeavor, let alone, again, everything else that it is being that I didn't have to, and that I am more of a console player. So, all those factors. But I figured that I'd have this brought up and have a little bit of a yap about it, if you will, and just kind of reflect on the game as a whole like that, because I would say been maybe more in the semi-minority, maybe still partial majority of not being too happy about some of the ways that they've done things and being open about it a little bit. I mean, I don't post it on Twitter or anything, and I don't, you know, get too feisty and spicy over there. But sometimes when I've replied to others' posts, like if they have questions, my bad, wrong button. Don't look at that. No, I hit it again because I'm bad at picking up stuff because I'm not used to it. I have a friend to do the work for me. I do share a little more of how I feel about it. And luckily, who I've at least have chatted with very, oh my gosh, briefly. It's, at least we've been around like kind of the same kind of feelings and sentiments. So they've been good chats. They haven't been, you know, one way or the other. But, you know, at the end of the day, I still do hope that this game, you know, continues in its own way. I think that maybe some things just weren't as fleshed out as maybe everyone wanted it to be in regards to costs, right? Because I don't know how much they had investment-wise to even bring it to PC and console, let alone they could have just not brought it to PC. They could have just not brought it to console, you know, vice versa, but they decided to do both, which is a pretty big endeavor. Would I say still that the experience of this is worth it? Yes and no. Still, I would say if you really want a chill game, absolutely. This game does deliver the chill. It also does deliver the exuberant amount of quests, to be fair, which can feel very overwhelming, and some of them are more important than others, I would say. I feel like also some of them, though, were added in a bit later to help with friendship, because of course friendship is what you need to do, and what that's part, I guess, the core gameplay, right? Is getting everyone to the friendships that we all know near and dear today. But even getting to those friendships, I feel like they just are very empty. And I've said that before too, like a lot of the areas feel very empty, and there's not a lot going on even with the visitors being here now, which sometimes they do surprise me where they show up. But I feel like it's kind of like a weather constraint, and that is, right, since the weather can't be in both places at once, that they also have to do that with them, that they can't really do too much, which is fine. But it'd be nice to, I guess, have a little bit more of something, and I've said that too before, which has surprised me with some of them. But it'd be cooler to have the visitors more involved. It'd be cool to be able to celebrate their birthdays, even if they're not as extravagant. And we don't need necessarily all the stuff from them either. Like, we don't need to have a cake, we don't need to have balloons, we don't need the recipe, you know, we don't need the kits or anything like that. In fact, we can reuse kits. Why not? Reuse the birthday kits just to make it, I don't know. It was just something like that. I feel like it would make it a little bit more worth my while in the game than what they've done. This has also been just a disappointment. That it's interesting too how they haven't really wanted to envelop and develop them here as far as their shops go. Not that they have to end up being like the biggest, you know, baddest shop in town, right? Because that's what's for a different area. But I do feel like I don't get a lot of variety, and overall there are not a lot of outfits to begin with, and the outfit choices that you have, they can feel very minimal if you really look at it, minus again the customizations, which I've said before, and being the customizations of like the different colors you can make them. Because otherwise, yeah, you don't really have a lot to work with. Or you have a lot to work with, and then they get raptured because they wanted to have this knoll that was supposed to be an event knoll the whole time, and you didn't know. And you didn't know that they were supposed to be in a very particular special hat, so then anything you put on them, poof, gone into the abyss, and you can't even take the hat back. Like, what is that? Like, why not? Why can't you take their hat? Like, what the heck is that? So, curious stuff there too. But I will endeavor in it still. I'm not surprised, but I do feel like it's a little bit of a stab of a cost. That is, again, being the $24.99. I'm gonna hope, though, that the area does bring enough to fulfill those emptinesses that the game does have, and this is one of the empty experiences I would say right now. And what I mean by that is, again, for me, I don't have anyone coming in. There are 0 visitors. They're just here as a time frame, and I don't even have a cabin made, but that's what's happening. Otherwise, let's say I did, make these 2. Sure, I would have them probably come by because they're on, I believe, random times, so it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, when I'm done with them, it doesn't matter. So it feels a little empty. And of course, they don't have any other quests that they want to talk about. They don't have really any other outfits either for some of them. They literally are in their one outfit, and that's about it, which is also fascinating. But that's where, again, for story, I am curious as to when they wrote some of their stories, why are some of them more developed than others? Why were they so short, for example? And why are they so long in their story? And I know that's kind of part of the draw and part of, again, right, the pull of how the game was originally created, right? A mobile experience. You can take it wherever you go. So it makes a lot of sense, but I also would prefer it to not be such a drag, because at a certain point, I feel like I don't care. Like, I basically, I really said I wanted to have the visitors here, and then I'd be kind of done. But now at this point, I feel like I've gotten through the core visitors, and I feel like more visitors have just been added, and I'm just like, oh dear. Except for, of course, I did know from looking up that, yes, this was going to be the longest visitor journey ever. But besides that, all these extras, I'm just like, what is happening right now? Hello? Like, I did not understand this one at all. But I enjoyed it for what it was, I guess you could say. But then, of course, we had the story-driven extras, that is, story-driven ones. But besides that, it's just been kind of a silent crawl, especially when it comes to then Kiki and Lala, where it's just like, are they going to expand on that again? Or is it just going to be kind of that weird, tee-hee, we didn't do anything, or did we? Like, what? And then are we going to actually, like, really get into the core of what's going on this island? Like, can we get back to that, or are we just gonna kind of ignore it? Or are they just kind of leaving that door open, which is okay? Like, there was technically an end story and we got to it, but I would love for that to just continue a little bit more, and thus we can really indulge and just evolve even more about what the heck is going on and what's happening here. So that's kind of my thoughts on it all, and that's kind of my hodgepodge of how I feel about the announcement, I guess you could say, of course, not only the cost of the DLC for the city town, but the true bit about, again, the packs. Which, again, we will endeavor on, of course, finding out in the future about how much the first pack will cost. But I gotta say, it sucks to see a game like this go into that kind of route, and it sucks to basically also hear that there's just not enough funding for it, so they kind of have to go to this, I mean, oh no, right? But we also, again, have fall to look forward to, so if you're one that's not interested in purchasing any more of the game, that is, right, you're not interested in purchasing the DLCs or into the packs, that at least you still have free updates to look forward to, and hopefully they're, interesting enough, right? Again, how much are they adding in the free update, and then how fast would one get through it? And how fast are you willing to, maybe take your time through it too? And overall, how much time have you spent in Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and how much do you think that is worth in your value of spending, how much you're just going to be spending overall, whether it be in Apple Arcade, Steam, and or the Nintendo eShop, right? I feel like I'm almost going to probably reach my limit. DLC, fine. Packs, probably not. But I'll be more than happy to share in the future about what those, at least packs, have in store. I'll call it out, bring it up. And of course, you got the internet to check them out too. But yeah, there are a lot of interesting choices in development right now, and just what the future has for this game. But of course, as always, I hope that still though you enjoy your time in Hello Kitty Island Adventure, however you play it, however you want to play it, however you want to experience the game, whether it of course be through even videos, right? If you're watching this, and do appreciate it. And of course, while my yapping was everywhere because I don't have a script, I hope that some of it made sense and put some things into some kind of perspective. And of course too, if you ever wanted to, feel free to break it down yourself as well, and really take a step back as to, the cost that one is spending. And just remember that, of course, it's not in everyone's budget, and that's totally understandable. Again, let alone what device you are playing the game on. Okay, right, too. Even PC, right? You would need a PC somehow. Or, you could get your, beautiful Steam Deck and then have your other kind of Nintendo Switch experience. But, right, it's still a lot of money to play this one game. So what does that mean to you, and how much hours you feel is worth your time and money well spent? I guess, well, as always though, time will tell about what the future holds for this DLC that again is releasing on April 16th, which again I will be getting and jumping into, but we will also have other parts before then. That is this other filler business, because of course the event is still going on strong, which also at this time, forgot to also just pop in here real quick if there's anything else unveiled here. Not exactly, but other than of course we'll have an outfit the next time I jump in, and of course we will have part 2 probably in the finale piece for this too, so we'll see what that holds. But all of that and more will as always next time. And of course this was a very different video, so don't mind it in the mix, don't mind it in the mash of everything else, and of course don't mind me staring into your soul occasionally with a blinker in here and there too. Oh, and buddies, I almost forgot, I did have a buddy today. Buddy would have been on my head, but I didn't really want to slouch too much, so there's that too. But maybe Buddy will make an appearance in the next video, since Buddy wasn't here today, huh? 2 buddies, right? Yeah. All right, and that was the end of this video. So of course, I know the intro was all over the place. I know the video was all over the place, but all the same, I hope you enjoyed. And of course, until next time, once again, my name is Lisa, but I can go by Lister Lise, and I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be.